Good morning, Facebook family and friends. We are here today in the animal hospital. I'm Dr. Mike, and we've got two different procedures taking place today that we're going to share with you. Over here, we've got some Timor pythons that we're doing some pre-shipment exams on, and behind me on the other side, we've got Pascal, our young North American river otter that many of you have probably seen before on Facebook feeds. He's here for his final wellness checkup as a pup. He's at 16 weeks now, so he's fully weaned, and we have begun introductions to the river otters over at our swamp habitat. So we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between the two tables. This is sort of what things are typically like for us here at the hospital, with multiple different cases presenting during the day. So we're going to kind of move between the two tables today. We're going to start over here with the Timor python, where we're waiting on the anesthesia to take effect with Pascal, the otter. Dr. Katie's working with Ashley, one of our veterinary technicians, and Elliot, one of our vet students, here with this Timor python. These guys were born here at Brookfield Zoo. They're a little over 8 months of age right now, and they've been doing great. They're very healthy young animals, and what we're doing today is what we call a pre-shipment examination. So these guys are getting ready to leave Brookfield Zoo and are heading to their new home at the Albuquerque Zoo, and as part of the process of sending these animals to the other zoo, they get just a really thorough checkup to make sure they're in good health. We want to make sure that they're able to be transported safely and that they'll be in good health when they arrive at the other facility. So what Dr. Katie's doing today is just giving this animal a good thorough checkup. We're going to look at all of the different organ systems, all of the different parts of the body, and just make sure everything looks in good health. So Elliot's right now taking a look at the snake's eye. In a little while, you'll see him open up its mouth and look inside to make sure everything looks healthy in there. And then we'll also be doing some other procedures on these guys, such as collecting a blood sample to evaluate their health. And we'll also be doing a swab on these guys for what's called ophidiomyces, which is a fairly new pathogen that has been causing a lot of problems in snake populations. It is a fungal infection that can manifest in a variety of different ways in different species, but it can cause pretty significant illness and even death in animals. And it's a pathogen that right now we're seeing in a lot of wild snake populations, and it's having extremely serious effects on those animals in the wild in terms of affecting population sizes and conservation programs. So it's not something that we've seen a problem with in this animal or any of our Timor pythons, and in general, pythons tend to be fairly not terribly susceptible to the disease, but it's still something that we check for. So what Dr. Katie's doing right now is just swabbing this animal's entire body a few times, and we'll submit that swab for a molecular test that looks for the DNA of the organism to make sure that we don't have it. So this is a really good opportunity for us also to just keep surveillance going on our population here at the zoo to make sure that it's not a pathogen that causes problems with our animals here at the zoo. Timor pythons are from Southeast Asia. They're a very interesting snake, and like other pythons, they've got a series of heat pits along their mouth that helps them to be able to use heat detection to find and catch their prey. And when they found it, they're a constrictor snake, so they'll coil around their prey, and they're not venomous, so they use that coiling and constricting action to get hold of the prey that they're eating, and then they swallow it whole, obviously. He's opening up his mouth there for the camera, so that was a good look for everybody inside of this guy's mouth. And you can see the heat pits along the upper lip here. Those little pits along the upper lip are what it uses to detect the heat signature from the animals that it's going after. I think at this point we'll switch gears and swing over here to the other side, and this is Pascal Otter. So this is Dr. Mike McIntyre, our second-year veterinary resident here at the zoo, and he's giving Pascal a good checkup. So anytime we have an animal over here at the hospital, we obviously always make sure that they get a full physical exam and that we evaluate everything to make sure that they're healthy. In Pascal's case, this is sort of his final wellness checkup as a pup. So just like a puppy or a kitten that you may have as a pet, there's routine veterinary visits when they're young to make sure that everything's developing normally and that they're healthy. In Pascal's case, here at 16 weeks, he's also getting his last round of shots that are vaccines for a variety of different potential illnesses. So we give those vaccines to make sure that he stays healthy. We're also going to collect a blood sample on him just to make sure that, again, everything's developing normally and that he's healthy and doing great. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, Pascal is now moved over to our swamp habitat and is being introduced to Benny and Charlotte, our other otters here at the zoo. And for any of you that have not had the chance to kind of keep up on Pascal's story, he was born here, but unfortunately his mom was not providing appropriate motherly care for him. We really don't know why. She's raised pups in the past successfully, but for some reason Pascal was not getting the attention that he needed from his mother, so we had to intervene and step in and have hand-reared Pascal from just a few days of age until recently when he was weaned and is now fully eating on his own without any need from our care staff to provide the milk and the nutrition that he needs. So he's obviously been around people a lot, and he's very well acclimated to us, and you may be wondering why we have him under anesthesia today, but really it's just for everybody's safety. He is not a domestic animal, so even though he's very comfortable around people, he's still not a dog or a cat, and so he does at this point have some pretty good teeth that he would be able to bite with, and the process of just restraining him under manual restraint to try and collect that blood sample and give those vaccines would be a fairly stressful event for him. So by getting him under anesthesia, we're able to do that in a very comfortable way for him, in a way that doesn't cause a lot of stress. He's on a gas anesthesia right now, so as soon as we turn that gas off, he's going to wake up really quickly and really won't have any real memory probably of what happened today, other than that he came over to the hospital and woke back up. So it's not something where he's going to feel a lot of discomfort or pain from the shots he's getting or from the blood collection.
What are all these clips that Marianne put on his feet and his arms?
That's a great question. So the small little red device there is an ECG and a pulse oximeter. So it's giving us his heart rate, it's giving us an assessment of his oxygen levels within his blood, and then it's also giving us a look at his cardiac function. So that's just something that anytime we have an animal under anesthesia, we're going to monitor those vital signs to make sure they're healthy and that everything's fine under anesthesia. And like I said, he's going to start waking up here pretty quick, so we're going to adjust our gas to try and keep him where we need him to be for the rest of this procedure. So anytime we're using gas anesthesia, we sometimes have to dial it up and down a little bit based on how the animal's doing. So you can see him squirm there a little bit. Those are just kind of involuntary muscle movements. He's not awake right now, but as he starts getting kind of light on anesthesia, we are going to see him kind of move a little bit there. So they're going to change out the face mask here to get a little bit tighter seal around his mouth and nose to make sure that we're getting that gas into him appropriately.
And this is a pretty normal thing, right, for all animals, people?
Yeah, this is very normal. So this would be the same as a young child going to the doctor to get vaccines, or a puppy or kitten getting their vaccines. The big difference is we do that awake, and I sometimes joke with my own children when we've gone to the doctor for them to get shots as kids that, the animals here at the zoo have it lucky because a lot of times they're asleep for this, and my son and daughter have both commented at times that they wish they were awake or that they wish they were asleep for their vaccines because they don't enjoy the shots. So this is just a very normal procedure that we're doing here today. This is Dr. Mike McIntyre. This is the other Dr. Mike we have here at the zoo right now. So it's a little bit of confusion for us at times, but Dr. Mike number 2 is going to be taking a blood sample. Otters have a great vessel in their tail, so it's a great site to collect blood from.
So how much does he weigh right now?
Yeah, so he was at 4.7 kilograms at his last weight, so just a little over 10 pounds. So he's still got some growth to go at this point. He's going to get a little bit longer and definitely a little bit stockier and a little bit heavier. So Not quite full grown yet, but at this point fully weaned and eating solid food and really starting to act like a normal otter, which is what we love to see. One of the really neat things about Pascal, with the fact that he did have so much human interaction while he was young, is that we've been able to establish a number of different behaviors with him that we'll be able to maintain for his whole life, hopefully. So simple cues as far as moving from point A to point B, moving into a transfer box that we can put him into if we need to bring him over to the hospital or move him somewhere else within the zoo, so that we're not having to try and induce anesthesia in order to move him. He's also got behaviors to stand up, which allows us to get a good look at his belly, which otherwise we really can't see or evaluate. So all of those behaviors are just wonderful things for us as we try and continue to keep him comfortable around people and helping us keep him as healthy as possible. So that's sort of where we're at today. Like I said, this is a kind of typical day for us as far as having two different procedures running at the same time, and we'll move on to some other cases this morning. We'll give a second here for Pascal to wake up, and Katie's wrapping up with the Timor pythons over here, and then we'll move on to some other patients.